Hello and welcome to this TOK presentation by myself, Thomas Stubbs. Today I will be looking at the role that ethics plays in the natural sciences. So the real-life situation that will be used in this presentation is an experiment conducted by myself and a friend Spencer a couple of weeks ago. Spencer and I sought out to determine the density of another friend of ours, Mansour. To determine Mansour's density, we needed two measurements. We needed both his mass, which we determined quite easily using a bathroom scale, and his volume, which was a little bit more tricky to find. To find Mansour's volume, we submerged him in a jacuzzi filled with water, and we knew by Archimedes' principle that the volume of water that Mansour displaced would be equal to his own volume. So we measured the change. I measured the change in water volume as Mansour submerged himself, and then used that to find Mansour's own volume. Given his volume and his mass, we could then find his density. However, this experiment raised a few issues, primarily regarding the conflict of interest between Mansour's own comfort and the accuracy of the results of the experiment. To maximize the accuracy of the results, we needed to ensure that most all of the volume being measured was volume from Mansour himself and not volume from anything else. So we had him wear as few clothes as was possible, so he just wore his gym shorts. And we also had Mansour exhale prior to every submersion, so as to, again, ensure that all volume measured was Mansour's own volume. However, this caused the problem of putting Mansour in great discomfort, as it was both cold water and he had little clothes, and the exhaling deprived him of oxygen for a few seconds. So we need to find the balance between Mansour's own comfort and safety and the accuracy of the experiment. This brings us to the first knowledge question of the presentation, which is, how significantly is the acquisition of knowledge within the natural sciences limited by ethics? So first I'm going to limit this down to biology, as biology being the study of living things, and ethics almost definitionally being strictly limited to the interactions between living things and the characteristics of individual living things. So it's important to narrow it down to biology. Beyond that, most of the examples used will be in regards to medicine, so we can narrow the knowledge question even further to how are advancements in medicine limited by ethics. And the first claim I will make is that they are limited quite significantly. The example I use is that for the FDA to approve drugs to go to market for human consumption, they first must be tested and ensure that they will not cause any harm to humans. And to do this, most often companies will use lab animals such as rats and bunnies and monkeys. However, these tests are often seen as inhumane treatment of the animals, and there's quite a lot of societal pushback to the practice of testing drugs in animals. However, if they're not tested and they're not proven to be safe, they cannot be put to market. And if a drug cannot be put to market for human use, it cannot be considered an advancement in medicinal sciences. So this is an example of how ethics can limit the advancements of medicinal sciences. Another example in which the advancements in medicinal sciences are not limited by ethics is the development of new antibiotics. So new antibiotics are kind of required to be continuously developed as we need to fight off the bacterial infections. And strains of bacteria are becoming increasingly resistant to old antibiotics every day as they grow resistant. This development of medicine is quite uncontroversial, as there's little to no animal testing really required. So there's not really that ethical barrier to advancements in developing antibiotics. So overall, however, the advancements in medicinal sciences can be said to be limited by ethics, because although maybe not all of the drugs are prevented to go to market because they're not tested to be safe, at least some of them are. And if some drugs can't go to market and can't be used by humans, they cannot be considered to be advancements in the medicinal sciences, and thus advancements in medicine are limited by ethics. This brings us into the second topic of discussion, the second knowledge question for this presentation, which is sort of a more interesting discussion, which is, why do humans allow their ethics to limit advancements in medicinal sciences, and is it justified? So coming back to the whole example of testing with animals, humans will use their intuition to know that the situations and the circumstances that tested animals are being put under would cause pain or discomfort. So they project what they believe they would feel onto the animals given the circumstances the animals are in. Additionally, a drug tester who is present while the animal is being tested on will get the sensor perception of behaviors from the animals, things like cries and whimpers, and the observer can then use their reason to conclude that these cries and whimpers are sort of obvious signs of discomfort or pain. So from the intuition of someone knowing that a certain situation would cause them pain or discomfort, and the sensor perception and reason of an observer, both conclude that the testing of animals can be seen to be unethical, and limiting the advancement of natural medicine in this regard is justified. However, there are some flaws in limiting the advancements in medicine here, mostly being that some of the aforementioned reasons require a lot of assumptions to be made. Assumptions such as what humans find uncomfortable and causing a pain, animals will also find those situations to be uncomfortable and causing a pain. We also have to assume that animals communicate discomfort and pain non-verbally in a way similar to humans. So we kind of make the connection between the cries and whimpers an animal being tested makes and the cries and whimpers, say, a person would make in that situation. And there also lacks the best way to confirm an individual's internal state, which is through language. Often in interactions between humans, things like the cries and whimpers will give off cues that the individual is in discomfort or pain. However, it's language that confirms this. Someone asking and having the verbal confirmation. So the animals don't have that because there is no way for animals and humans to communicate through language. So there isn't that high degree of certainty that the animals are being given pain. There's no high degree of certainty of their internal state. So limiting medical advances due to ethics is not justified, as the degree to which the animals are in discomfort or pain is not really at a high degree, and thus may not be worth the advancements and benefits that medicine causes or provides for humans. On a whole, however, these limitations by ethics on the development of medicines is justified, as the assumptions made earlier that the cries and whimpers of an animal being tested, for example, are actual signs of discomfort and pain. Quite a reasonable assumption to make. And with that assumption, we know that it would be unethical to subject an animal to such discomfort and pain, and thus limiting medicine advancements due to this is justified. Linking this back to the experiment done with Mansour, that experiment wasn't significantly or really at all influenced by ethics. This is because Mansour was able to give verbal consent for the experiment, thus we were able to do the experiment without much guilt. However, during the experiment, Mansour would continuously give verbal and nonverbal cues of discomfort or pain, and it might have been the only reason he continued consenting to the act was some peer pressure from Spencer and I. However, with the fact that the experiment caused some accurate data to be measured, and on a whole, little discomfort or harm to Mansour, it can be seen as a justified experiment. Other real-life situations where this comes into play are more examples where animals are being used as subjects for tests. On the left, you see a monkey on a car who was used to test for Volkswagen's smog emissions, and on the right, a monkey that was used to test for nicotine addiction in humans. All right, that's it for this presentation. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you bell me so you can be notified for all my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.